Yeah, thanks very much. And thanks to Deputy O'Leary as well. It's a really interesting topic. And hi, Hugh. Great to have you, the youngest member ever. Isn't that brilliant?
Thank you very much,
Um,
Senator. Thank you.
great to have you. So what year are you in?
Going into third year now in the Petition Academy.
Very good. And what subjects are you picking?
So I'm doing business and music as they're the two that I'm sort of good at. The others I'm not that great at, but
Oh,
yeah,
excellent. Yeah,
yeah.
it's when you have to choose the subjects, isn't it? You have to start making some hard decisions.
Yes.
Well, that's excellent. Well, I suppose thank you so much for your submission. I mean, we've been going through it and we've been involved in this now for a long number of weeks and months actually on tackling bullying. So it's very important that we hear from students as well about their own experiences. And Hugh, I know you've given us a lot of recommendations here, and I like quite a few of them. We've just come out of a session with Department of Education officials, and I suppose I'd just be curious, like when you were choosing your secondary school, was it, your parents were probably speaking with you about the secondary school that you would like to go to. Did that conversation ever bring in, well, I hear it's, students get on really well there and they're very happy in the school, as well as maybe the academic outcomes?
So your question was about did it ever come in with the school about how mental health that area was it?
Yeah, just whether, did that come up when you were deciding maybe what secondary school to go to, when you were talking with your parents or, yeah.
Yes, that conversation did come up about the school atmosphere, environment. It definitely did come up. It was something that we did consider along with numerous other things.
So that was a part of you making a decision. I suppose for a lot of children, I'm from a regional area, I suppose Roscommon and Galway, so sometimes, you'd have to travel a good bit to get a few different secondary schools.
Yes.
Sometimes a lot of students would go to the school that's closest to them, or based in the same town. So there mightn't be a big choice, But
there is quite a large choice in Malawi. We've two primary schools, two secondary schools, and there's a secondary school just out the road, and we've the Cork City schools as well. So there was a large enough choice there as well for school environment and that.
Because I suppose we were asking the department, I suppose some of my questions are around the inspector reports that they do for schools. And normally they do those annually, but there's been probably a bit of a delay now with the lockdown and everything. But that there would be a section there about how schools tackle bullying. Do you think that parents, if they were reviewing that would be important when they're deciding maybe what school they'd be choosing for their children to go on to, or that children would be looking at this as well? I suppose at a young age it's very difficult, but you did have a conversation around school environment, even when you were deciding going into which school you were going to go to?
I do think it would be a value I think it would be a value to not just people who experienced bullying, but students who may have concerns. I do think that it would be a very useful inspector report. I was actually reading through the inspectorate report. I forget for what year now, but I think it was last year's inspector report, and there was very little on the bullying in schools.
I think so too, Hugh. And I think probably they said that there'll be a new report out from January 2022, that there will be a lot more in relation to that. And they talk about 5 successful indicators for schools. So hopefully there'll be a little bit more information around how schools are performing against each of those indicators. I suppose just some of the other questions. I sit on the mental health subcommittee here. So it's the first year this committee has ever been put in place. So there is a dedicated committee for mental health, as well as obviously education and a few other areas as well. You spoke about sort of the importance of, I think in your recommendations, that there should be a student advisory committee in the Department of Education to advise, I think, on mental health and well-being. And you also asked for a well-being day, I think, is what you mentioned in your recommendations. I liked the idea of that well-being day. And there is a week for that where I think there's a week in November, which is the UNESCO Day. The very first UNESCO Day last year was against anti-bullying. But I suppose, would it be good, do you think, to have a well-being day maybe that week in November?
I do think that week, I've never heard of that week actually, so I do think it would sort of be good to publicise that week throughout schools, but as well I do think that date would be sometime during that week. It would be good to have some sort of a day in schools across the country for the students. I do think so.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Hugh. And then I suppose the only other question I was going to ask you is that and you may not have come across it because I haven't got out to a huge amount of schools, but there's the Fuse anti-bullying program, and they come out to schools and they engage with students and teachers. So I was just curious whether they have come to your school. And then also there's another program called SOAR, but it's more for a transition year. So it'll be probably next year that it would be, that you might get involved in it. But they're also a group that come out and engage with transition year students about, I suppose, well-being and their school environment. Have you heard of either of those programs?
Was it Diffuse you said for the first one? Was it
Fuse, F-U-S-E from DCU?
No, I've never heard of them. It's something that they should try and get out to all schools, though. I do think it would be very beneficial.
Thank you. Okay, well, look, that's perfect. I might let the chair come in again. Thank you so much for your time, Hugh. And I might come in again at the end as well if there's a little bit of time. Thanks a million.
Hugh, thank you very much. One of the issues that has been discussed here of the work we've been doing over the last number of months was an online safety commissioner, and all of the witnesses would have raised this specifically because bullying has totally changed over the years and it's now gone more online. Of your experience, like I know you outlined there how it affects a student. And just before you, so there's the online safety commissioner, how would you feel, would you welcome that, and how you feel that would work because of all the social media companies that are out there, and I've some anecdotal experience of what happens on them. And the other issue is, are there many students who never admit that they have been bullied, and they could be because they don't want to kind of let their guard down, they don't want to admit it, they probably think they're tougher than what they actually are, but it does affect them later in years because they didn't seek the help when they should have sought the help. So maybe if you could just comment on those two questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I do believe an online safety commissioner would actually be a very good to be put in place. But also, I think I'd be curious how the online safety commissioner would work in line with the new policies put in place, because as I've been reading, a lot of the social media companies now have a lot of they've a very large legal team, and they've a lot of power for like they're willing to challenge anything that governments are trying to do. So I'd be interested in how that work. But also I do believe that students don't speak up about bullying personally. I don't think that students speak up about bullying in schools. Like it does affect them later on in life, and I don't think they really speak up fully about it.
And the other issue is, and I've raised this question with a huge amount of the witnesses over the last while, is the engagement of parents and how to get parents engaged to educate them, because there's an awful lot of parents out there who do not understand the dangers of social media, and there's an awful lot of parents out there that know that their sons or daughters might be on social media, but they do not know the activity that they are up to on social media. So there could be absolutely the nicest students in school face to face, but when they get home on their mobile phones on different platforms and everything like that, they could be the greatest bullies ever. And like, the witnesses would say it's the same parents who should come to the meetings, but it's the parents who are not coming to the meetings, they're the parents that you want to reach out to. How would you suggest, or would you have any suggestions or ideas on how to interact with parents, or how the schools, how the department, or how we engage with the general body of parents to try to educate them on the dangers of social media, to let them know what happens on social media, whatever?
So is this the parents that do not go to the information evenings
Yes, yeah,
organised?
more or less. There's not the parents that you want to reach out to. They are the parents that who do not attend the public sessions, or like most schools now. They have public meetings. They have like meetings of just to engage with parents. But it's the same parents that turn up the whole time, and the parents that really want to engage are not turning up.
Yes, actually, such an event took place in our own primary, in my former primary school, where they had some person speaking about cyberbullying. So I think that maybe the Department of Education could look at running a information campaign on social media platforms about bullying, cyberbullying, or maybe they could advertise it more, push it on magazines, newspapers. I think a national media campaign could work very well for that. Being honest, because it is such an important topic. It really is only starting to come in, cyberbullying. People are only starting to take more interest in the topic in the last coming years, really. But I do think that the Department of Education or Department of Communications, either or of them, should look at a media campaign to promote the prevention of cyberbullying. Thank you.
Okay, and I know you've your piece on the 2013 action plan and how that needs to be updated. Just another question for you. I raised it with the Department of Education today, which has come up at the meeting as well, where the witnesses were looking for emotional and therapeutic supports, and somebody that the pupils can trust to go to in the school, because like the principal of the school is very busy. He or she is very busy, I should say. They have a huge school to run. They've additional pressures over the years. The teachers don't have the time. They're doing the education, the academic education of all the pupils. So what we're talking about and suggesting is an emotional and therapeutic support to the school, where similar to a counsellor, but maybe not as highly qualified as a counsellor, but someone that the students can talk to, that they can absolutely trust 100% that it's discreet. How would you welcome that, or how would you feel about that if it was to be rolled out? It doesn't have to be, as I said today in with the department officials, it doesn't have to be in every school. It can be shared among schools, maybe one big school, a number of small schools or whatever, but at least the person is there once a week, maybe twice a week, for pupils to be able to come and talk to, that they're able to trust in a very discreet manner.
I do think I'd welcome that very much, because I know that there are certain organisations within Ireland offering these service, but many of them are either by phone, so you ring up the number or text the number, and then many other of them are online, where you have to physically log on to a laptop, and you may not even it may not be as secure. Well, of course, it'll be secure, but it may not be. You may not get the time. Your parents may come in on you or something like that. So I do think it would be very good to have it in schools. I do think they wouldn't have to be based in school, but a regional, so maybe a representative that go to the schools maybe once a week, that person would cover the local electoral areas. So they'd be responsible for, I know the Mallow, so let's say, well, I'll just put into an example here. So I think there's a good couple of schools in the Mallow and Turk multiple districts, so maybe they could have a representative to cover the Mallow and Turk district rather than numerous, so like they'd be all spread out, and it'd be the one professional dealing with that entire area, so they may know the situations happening in that area rather than someone different for maybe a school out in Kanturk that maybe that may have the same issues as Mallow. Thank you.
Okay, and one last question before I bring back in Fine Gael Senator Dolan. Just the issue of pupils or students or sons or daughters of having the confidence to go to their parents about being if they're being bullied in the school. Do you think that there is an issue there, that an awful lot of people don't have the confidence to go to their parents, or don't feel comfortable in going to their parents because they don't want to kind of maybe overly worry them or whatever? How big a problem do you believe that is, and how can it be overcome?
As I said with Senator Dolan, I do believe that there is an issue. People aren't speaking up that much with these students, with the staff and teachers of the school. I do believe that the competence needs to be built within the school environment. It's no longer, as a teacher should be, I do believe now that teachers should have a more friendly appearance to them, rather than as people of maybe not your teacher, when when teachers of maybe your generation would have came across as figures of authority. Well, they should still come across in our generation as figures of authority, but they should also be welcoming for complaints like that, of that such level bullying is no longer, it sort of isn't, it should not be an issue that should be ignored. It should be listened to. I know in my own school they do a forum out every month where the students are, well, it hasn't really been happening with COVID, but I know that they bring all the students in from each class each year, and they get them to fill out a form with, so it's a completely anonymous, and the students write down, I think, 3 names. I forget it now because it's been so long that we did it, but they get them to fill in 3 names with people who they think may be being bullied, people they know who are being bullied, and someone just made that may I speak out. And then I believe they approach the students who are on that list and have a conversation with them to make sure that everything is okay. I think that'd be quite a good thing to roll out nationally, as I do believe students may have the idea of speaking out more if it is anonymous, instead of someone speaking with the teacher. Thank you.
Senator Dolan, I'll give you one more question before we finish up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair, and thanks very much, Hugh. And very interesting. I know that what Senator Keogh, Deputy Keogh, has been talking to us, our Chair here, in relation to, I suppose, confidence to engage with teachers or career guidance. I suppose my question is a little bit similar, maybe. If I said to you, who would you highlight as people that would trust? You've a lot of sunshine behind you as well, Hugh. You've a great halo.
Sorry.
You've a great halo there, so there's a lot of great sunshine down in Cork. It might be a little bit hard to see there, but I was just going to say to you, who would you say are students that would trust, that people would trust in school? If a student is going towards a teacher or career guidance, or maybe they have a favourite teacher from their first year in school or from their Leaving Cert year in school, or, like different years in school. So is it always the teacher? Could it be an SNA? Could it be school secretary? Could it be the caretaker?
I think in my own school, there are a lot of members of staff that are very pleasant to deal with, but I do think it is really the teachers that are stand out. There are certain teachers that stand out to myself, but I do think there is certain teachers that you do approach. You know who to approach. Really, maybe the teachers that seem interested. It would, for myself, it'd be the teachers that seem interested in the student. It'd be the staff and teachers that seem interested in the students' emotional behaviour, along with the students' academic achievements. And I think it would be the members of staff and teachers who are the most interested in the student and who want to see the student academically improve. But also, I think it's the staff that people are most pleasant with. That who recognise the student for who they are. I think they're the people that students, and I think it comes with the name as well, though. Like a teacher, I think it is the way that the teacher is sort of portrayed around the school, who you'd go to. I know our own staff are very well, like they're very kind and everything, but there are, I'll end with that. Thank you.
It's always, so teachers, I suppose, are good people to approach. And I think perhaps maybe some of the subjects, you mentioned you were doing music, Hugh.
Yes.
And I suppose I'm curious because sometimes drama and the theatre and things like this, sometimes role play can be really good as a way to maybe get students to open up a little bit about how they're feeling about things. Do you think that, say drama or things like that are things that would be worthwhile in school, and, more of the arts to try and encourage students to come out of their shell a little bit and talk more?
Well, Senator, I think it would be a good idea in maybe a mixed school, but as I go to an all-boys school, being honest, boys aren't really interested in the arts or drama. Well, not all boys, certain boys are interested in the arts and drama, while some others may be interested in the football or the hurling.
Yeah,
or
so maybe sports. Sports could be a good way to engage. Well, you make me laugh, Hugh, because when I went to school a long while ago, the boys used to come to the girls' school for music, and then the girls would have to go to the boys' school to do physics. So I'd hope that things have changed a little bit since then. But
yes.
Okay, well, listen, thank you very much. I suppose it was just, those are my last few questions, and thank you very much. And thanks, Hugh, for taking part. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.